What do you think is a sequel that's better than the original in any series?
Well, The Godfather. People would argue that Aliens is better than Alien. They'd be wrong, but Godfather 2 is probably the best example.
The Road Warrior.
The Road Warrior is a great example.
And Empire Strikes Back. I mean, I'm just going on the original. I mean, even though it's episode 5, but yeah, it is the definitive. But it's a movie, I think, even, how should I say it, that on its own, it stands alone. It's just like a superior, with the five other movies, that movie's just badass. That none of the others, even the original Star Wars, doesn't even have that.
It's tonally much different, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As is Aliens, as is The Godfather, too, really. Is that part of what makes them successful? Is that they kind of redefine themselves in a way? They're not the same movie?
I think that has something to do with, definitely has something to do with it.
I don't know if it's what makes them successful, because it's been proven that sequels will be successful no matter what. Look at The Hangover 2. But it is what makes them more memorable. That's what makes Aliens more memorable than Predator 2. You know what I mean? Like, Predator, both were successful, but Predator 2 is not memorable. I like The Hangover 2 will not be memorable.
It would just be financially, if the way it's going, yeah, but definitely not. I mean, it's like the road movies they made with Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. I mean, but I have to say that's not as funny or as memorable as those movies, the sequel.
People would argue The Dark Knight is better than The Batman Begins. I don't know if I agree, but...
That's true, yeah.
Well, I have a thought on it. B. Wood in the chat room, Super 8 does come out August 5th, but in the UK, which is where that Empire magazine is based, it comes out on June 10th, like you said, here in the U.S. All right. The Dark Knight, I think it attempts to be the Godfather 2 to Batman Begins Godfather, in that it attempts to expand the themes of the first and make it more... make it darker.
But the first one is dark, though. Batman Begins is a very dark film. And I applaud Chris for bringing up the fact that in all the hoopla and all the Heath Ledger's death and everything, that The Dark Knight has overshadowed the Batman Begins. But Batman Begins is a really solid piece of filmmaking. Let's not forget that. It sets up everything that The Dark Knight is, but there's a lot of great moments in Batman Begins. A lot of great little moments, and big moments too.
A little less self-important too.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I like about it. A little, it's much more self-important than Batman and Robin, but not quite in Dark Knight territory, which gets a little bit self-serious.
Yeah. I agree with you, Chris. I mean, there's a lot of great, just little touches. Even there's some humor in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
That's not. I mean, there's maybe one or two scenes that are kind of funny in The Dark Knight, but Batman Begins, I just remember watching. I was like, wow, this is Nolan really cares about the character and everything, or characters, but he's done something really brilliant here. That's not.
Katie Holmes is in it.
Well, I mean.
Lethal Weapon, still the first one.
Oh God, are you kidding? All of those movies are terrible. Except
all right, Dean has a list in the chat room that you all better take a look at.
All right, I just rebooted Die Hard, and I'll be able to look at it. Die Hard, the first one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the first one, in retrospect, is the gold standard.
What would you put next in terms of quality?
I actually would put 3 because of Jeremy Irons. I mean, that's what Die Hard 2 is missing, is a great villain.
Well, and John McTiernan.
Yeah, that's yes, that's true too.
John McTiernan should have directed. Forget it. I wonder how he's directing in prison right now.
Yeah, he can't direct too much right now.
All right, lunch line over here. Good. But I would agree with the third one. The third one is one of the great, I think, underrated action movies. I mean, that movie,
I agree with you.
That movie bruises you. I mean, that movie has so much action in it.
It's also very funny. It's just a very funny movie. The dynamic between Jackson and Willis is hilarious.
What works about it too, what makes it such a great action movie, is it's that old school Dirty Harry type action movie. There's no CGI in it. I mean, maybe the water effects at the end, but like for the most part, the action is action. You know, they put cars on catapults and toss them around the city and stuff like that. You know, I mean, it feels very, very real in your face.
The thing I've always liked about the Die Hard movies is John McClane gets hurt. I mean, he is a bleeding, sliced-up mess at the end of every movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I know. I think that's great. I also just think I love when they go to Canada at the end, and he's like, McClane, you've really pissed her off.
You know, I did read something about Die Hard that it's the ultimate statement against feminism. The first Die Hard movie, against female empowerment.
Right. She goes off and gets her own job, but he has to come from across the country to save her. You know, all that kind of stuff. The object that kind of represents her individuality and her strength as the modern working woman is that expensive watch she's given from her work.
Right.
The same watch that the villain hangs on at the end, and they have to undo the watch from her wrist for him to fall off and die.
Right.
And she has to give that up in order to...
Right. And she takes back her married name at the end.
Yes, I love it. I love that kind of readings into these movies. Because you don't know, you don't know what's in the subconscious. I mean, maybe McTiernan's like a big, male chauvinist pig, and that came out. I don't know.
It also contains one of the biggest Die Hard and The Fly. I've always wanted to have a sleaze bag contest between Ellis from Die Hard and Stathis Borans from The Fly. Who is smarmier?
Yeah.
He wrote me an email. I was like, because I'm trying to get him for because I'm trying to get him for the Summer of '86 series.
Oh.
He wanted to know exactly, what kind of interviews we've done in the past, and I just want to hear him say that line.
Oh my God! Please tell him we had Goldblum, and
Yeah, I did. I tried to sell us. I haven't heard back yet, but we also have the writer of Ruthless People, and we're in contact with the writer of actually The Fly.
Oh, sweet.
And he wrote something else that summer. Why can't I think? Oh, Psycho 3. All right, here's some sequels.
That's why you can't think of it.
Here's some sequels. Are these? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. Here's one more. The Bourne Supremacy is superior to the Bourne Identity.
I agree with that. I mean, I like the Bourne Identity, but the Supremacy just takes it up so many notches.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the best Bond movie?
Who gives a shit?
I would go with From Russia with Love and On Her Majesty's Secret Service and Casino Royale and For Her Eyes Only would be the ones that I would pick off the top of my head.
Isn't it something else that when you ask the best in this series, you actually have 5 to choose from?
Yeah,
you know that there are 30 others.
Yeah, I mean, let's go with Abbott and Costello and Tarzan while we're at it. I mean,
Yeah.
It's hard to. It's your preference to. I mean, I will say I think we can all agree that Sean Connery is the definitive Bond, but I do think Daniel Craig could inch up there to be close to that. But Sean Connery will always be the definitive James Bond, always. I don't think there's any way around that.